All right, the main event. And I'm not going to leave this image up very long. But Blippi. Blippi has a bit of a sketchy past. So I'm going to switch the photo right now because I don't want this to be mistaken as a Blippi video or a kid accidentally clicking on it, because we are going to talk about some, like, if you have kids in the room or this is something you normally listen to in the family, this is not the episode. This is a not safe for work episode. Blippi. Before he was Blippi, he was Steezy Grossman. And he was a gross out filmmaker of such classics as Turd Boy and Underwear Man. Okay. Maybe a bit of a hard pivot from Turd Boy to children's entertainer, but who am I to judge? But that's exactly what I'm going to do for the next couple minutes, because Steezy Grossman has a claim to fame. And it is, again, this is not for the faint at heart. Do you remember the Harlem Shake? Where people would dance and then the music would stop and then something odd would be happening when the music came back on? Steezy Grossman defecated on his friend in the form of a Harlem Shake video. And when I say defecated, I mean, like, he shit hard on his presumably friend. You'd have to be a friend to do that. It got me thinking. And when I first okay, how I ended up down here. My 2-year-old is obsessed with Blippi right now. It is nonstop Blippi in my house. And my wife, being the good parent, decided to do a little research on Blippi. And that's when we uncovered some very, simple things. He was in the army, blah, blah, blah. But this jumped out at my wife. And we talked about it. And I couldn't let it go. I couldn't, because I was thinking, yeah, people do dumb things and they're in the name of notoriety and going viral. But to defecate on your friend is a different thought. It is, you got to be wired differently. And so I was going to put this out as kind of a general caution to parents. Not that it's not readily accessible. It's just, hell, I didn't know, and now I do, so I'm sharing it with you. But then, I was also in this same episode going to talk to you about how they're making a Jackass 4, and how I am super excited to see Jackass 4, because Jackass is one of my guilty pleasures. I have a story about seeing the first 3 in theaters, and each one is different. The first time, I couldn't get in because I brought my brother, who was too young at the time, and we were declined to enter. The second time, I was with some guys, and one of them, and he knows who he is, he probably is listening, got very drunk before the movie and threw up. As we were about to go into the theater, we still watched the movie, and I believe he threw up during the movie as well. And the third one in 3D, I actually went with my brother, who was now of age, and my dad. And the 3 of us sat with our 3D glasses on and watched Jackass in 3D. So, I'm not sure why. I've always had this affinity for... It's a guilty pleasure. It's not good, but it's guilty pleasure. And then I was like, well, how is that much different than what Steezy did here? Well, Steezy is Blippi now. Hundreds of millions of views. $17 million a year earning. Influencing children. But then, Johnny Knoxville, he was able to make the jump from Jackass to mainstream media. He was in Men in Black. He was in Dukes of Hazzard. He was in, I got a list here, he was in a Jackie Chan movie that I saw that was just terrible. But he was in kind of family-friendly action comedies. And that made me pivot again. That made me kind of say, all right, I'm not going to go hard here on Steezy or Blippi. I'm gonna let him off the hook a little bit and say he's got a checkered past. he is not the clean cut image that we see. I will tell you this: Blippi has done a fantastic job of scrubbing the internet of any mention of Steezy Grossman. But it's available. I've seen it. It's worse. it's more graphic and worse than what you're picturing in your head. And I know you're going to Google it. There's a BuzzFeed article. There's an artist rendering of it because they had to do it for legal reasons. But I can assure you, it's worse than what you're picturing. He acknowledges it. He says, I used to be a gross out comedian. I thought it was funny. I've moved on from it. And I'm sure his lawyers are at the ready anytime anyone mentions it. But put this in your back pocket. If this is something that will potentially affect your ability to enjoy Blippi with your kids, it's out there. It's readily available. Maybe not readily available. Took me a little bit of digging, but I was really committed to seeing this video. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Anyways, I'm sure it screwed up my algorithm. My search algorithm is probably a mess now. You can only imagine the type of ads I'm going to be getting. So, do I have an end for this? No, I never do. You guys know I just talk until I run out of steam. But I will say, if you're so inclined, check it out. It's horrible. You might throw up.